week 8, and we're back with another edition of the High School Huddle. I'm Travis Brown. This is Eric Zarate, editor of DFWVarsity.com. We've had an interesting week in the high school realm this week. We want to get right into it. Indeed. And that is our epic moment / kind of opening discussion here of Alito's 91-point game this week. Eric, is that a case of just the best team in the state, or is that a case of figuratively stealing lunch money?
Well, to not, belabor the point, but it was Alito 91, Fort Worth Western Hills 0. Alito's in a tough spot. They're in a district where they are obviously every opponent is pretty much overmatched by the Bearcats. They're number 1 in the state, and with good reason. They've got lots of talent, and they can do a lot of things. It's not, a knock on Alito that, I don't think they're at fault. I don't think they were doing anything, malicious or make it, to embarrass Western Hills or any other opponent. They're averaging almost 70 points a game. So lopsided scores have been the norm for them. It's a tough situation for Coach Buchanan.
It really is. If you read the story that our Ryan Osborne wrote, it seemed that Coach Buchanan is very contrite in his want to keep things reasonable, even though it's vastly outmatched the other teams. But even the Eastern Hills coach seemed to say they're great sports. They didn't do any talking. They just went out there and played football, and that's the way football should be played. So I respect Eastern Hills coach in that. Western Hills.
Yes, John Naylor.
In that statement as well, because that is how football should just be played. It's not like taking a knee or anything would be better if you're winning by so much. So
yeah, it's it's a tough situation. With the this report of a bullying report, that apparently some folks felt it was Alito was a bit too extreme. I don't see that being the case. I highly doubt that that's the case, and I'm sure the Alito officials would be glad that when this is all done and they can move on to playing some football and get into the playoffs where they can get some tougher opponents.
Just as a quick example, I remember back, 2 to 3 years ago when Jonathan Gray, even the former Alito running back, made some kind of motions or whatnot that seemed to maybe be kind of a celebration or a taunt. Against Birdville. It was a big raining game. He pulled him right over, and I believe pulled him out for a couple drives, maybe even the rest of the game. Coach Buchanan is not about any kind of showboating, scoreboarding, anything like that, and I definitely don't think that that's the case here.
I agree. They're not going to show up an opponent that way. The game's in hand, and they're going to do what they can to manage it, and bring in the reserves, bring in the backup players, but you can't tell these kids to, they work hard all week too, all season, since, off season, August, preseason drills. They can't just be told to take a knee and, wait till next week's opponent.
Right. Well, that being said, let's move right into our first game, which is Alito versus Fort Worth Southwest. Does Fort Worth Southwest have any better chance of any of these other teams? And maybe what do you think the score will be in this one?
Southwest's definitely got the best offense among the Fort Worth ISD teams. They're averaging well over 400 yards a game. They did lose last week to Granbury, 49-40. I think Alito's going to take another win here. My guess will be Alito 56, Southwest 21.
I honestly, here's my thought on it. You ready for this? Alito dressed in all black. Johnny Cash was the man in black. When the Man Comes Again was one of his songs, and I think they'll put up another apocalyptic kind of score this week. I think they'll break 60, and Fort Worth Southwest will put up maybe 14. So I think it'll just be another
being kind of tough
blowout
on Coach Trammell's kids there. I think Southwest will be a little more game than that. Okay.
Well, let's move on to Hearst LD Bell versus Irving MacArthur, 7:30 p.m. Friday at Irving School Stadium. What do you have in this one?
LD Bell they got to get past losing to Trinity last week, getting whacked by Trinity 55-0. I think they can do that. Their offense was limited to about 200 yards last week. They average a lot, about 400 yards a game. I think their offense can get back on track. MacArthur is a struggling team. They've lost 3 in a row. I don't think that the Cardinals have what it's going to take to stop LD Bell from getting back on the winning track.
Right. I simply think that LD Bell just has the better offense, and it's just the better team in this situation. They're a 2-3 seed, playoff seed when it all gets said and done out of that district, and Bell will win this one. Next, Mansfield Timberview versus Cedar Hill, 7:30 p.m. Friday at Mansfield's Vernon Newsom Stadium. What do you have in this one?
Cedar Hill. Timberview's got the better record, but I just don't think they have the offense. They gave DeSoto a good game 2 weeks ago, but I don't see them being able to continue with that kind of thing. Cedar Hill is very fast, very talented. They were a state finalist team last year. I think they've got a lot of skill players. It's going to be really hard for Timberview to keep up.
I like Coach McGuire down there and what he does down there at Cedar Hill. I'm going to call an upset here again with a disclaimer. I call Mansfield Timberview, which I guess might be kind of an upset. I'm not sure really. They're both good teams. But if Timberview can put the same kind of pressure that they did on DeSoto at the beginning of that game and force a few turnovers, force a few miscues, if they can jump on top of Cedar Hill like they did DeSoto in that game, I think they'll have a much better chance of sticking it out. So if they can pull a few turnovers, if they can put some hard pressure on Cedar Hill at the beginning, I will take Timberview in that one.
All right.
Moving on, finally, we have Arlington Seguin versus Mansfield Legacy at 7:30 p.m. Friday at Mansfield's R.L. Anderson Stadium.
Legacy stumbled last week against Ennis, the district leader in 15-4A. Seguin is on a roll still. They're 3-1 in district like Legacy right now. Since it's in Mansfield, I'm going to say Legacy gets back on the winning track.
I am going to agree with you there. I think despite losing to Ennis, Legacy is still one of the hottest teams in the area. I think that was probably one of the toughest games that they'll face in that district. I think they just moved back into...
They were at Ennis, which doesn't...
Right, that doesn't help either. So I think they moved back right into their winning ways. Take this one. Let's go no huddle real quick. I have to give my shout out to the TAP schools. Plano Prestonwood versus Fort Worth Nolan, 7:30 p.m. at Nolan. This is always seems to be maybe a state championship preview. What do you see in this one?
I agree. These teams could meet third round of the playoffs, maybe in a title game. Nolan's at home. I'm going to give it to the Vikings.
I'm going to give it to Nolan as well. Arlington Lamar at Arlington Martin. Who do you see in this one?
Martin's won 6 in a row. I think it's going to be 7 in a row now.
Miles Garrett, that's all I have to say. Arlington Martin. And finally, Crowley versus Cleburne. What do you have in that one?
I'm going to say the Crowley Eagles. Get back on the winning track.
I'm going to go with Cleburne in this one. Well, that's our edition of High School Huddle this week, breaking down some of the games in this area. Go out to those games. Come back, go to dfwvarsity.com for the best recaps and stats from those games, and we'll see you next week.